It's springtime, and that means more birds in the yard, and what better to have beautiful, colorful birds and a lot of bird song in the yard, but how do you keep them there? Well, we're here today at Wild Birds Unlimited, and I'm going to be talking to Scott Menno, the owner of the store. Good morning, Scott.
Hello, Keith.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Now, getting birds to stay in the yard requires several things. What do you need to keep birds in the yard?
4 essential things are needed to attract birds to your backyard.
Okay.
Food, water, shelter or cover, and a safe place to raise young. A lot of the things that people need,
Yeah.
birds need too.
Well, I noticed you have some hummingbird feeders here, and this is one of my favorites right there. Now, you designed this puppy, right?
My brother and I helped design this, and so it's the best on the market.
Well, you know what I like the most about this is that there's no place for the hummingbird to hide.
That's right, and that's why we feed birds, so we can watch them. It does help them to an extent, but the hobby is watching the birds, attracting them to your yard.
Now, this one's red, but this one happens to be yellow, which means it's good for
Butterflies.
butterflies. Yellow apparently is a popular color for butterflies to attract them.
Think of the flowers that they visit
Yeah.
in your yard. So it can be blues, it can be whites, yellows.
Attract butterflies with the butterfly feeder. Also, water is extremely important. Let's go look at some of the bird bath choices that you've got to keep birds coming back and bathing and clean and have a little party.
Important part of it.
All right. So, Scott, here we have a number of different varieties of bird baths. Very ornate to glass, stone, copper, plastic. The decorative part is for the owner of the bird bath who's buying it. It's not so much for the birds.
That's exactly it. Birds are looking for functional baths, but we try to select some baths that are also decorative because the owner's the one that buys the bath. Ideal bath is going to be no deeper than 2.5 to 3 inches in the center.
Well, that's pretty shallow.
That is pretty shallow.
Yeah.
Nice gentle slope to the middle. A little texture to it so they don't slip as they approach the bath.
I've noticed that some of these have these really cool little solar features that I'm assuming make a nice little fountain, and it causes the water to ripple and move.
You bet. And birds find water by reflection of sunlight. And moving water reflects a lot more sunlight so that birds can see the water at a greater distance.
Birds also need a place of shelter, a place to raise their young, some place to build a nest. And not all birds require it, but some birds really like to have a house to go into.
Exactly.
And it's important to choose the right house for the right bird.
You bet.
So let's go over and take a look at some of your houses there and why you would choose one house over the other.
Okay.
All right? So here we are in the bird house section, Scott, and there's a lot of variety I'm seeing here. Maybe you could tell our viewers what qualities make a good birdhouse.
Things to look for in a birdhouse are good insulation, good drainage, great ventilation, and the proper sized hole for the species of birds you're trying to attract. Not all birds use birdhouses, but the ones that do want to have it for themselves, not have invaders.
Now, where are the perches? I don't see any perches anywhere.
Perches are a bad idea on birdhouses. Perches provide room for predatory birds to bother the nestlings.
One of the big issues going on right now in the metro area is flickers pecking on homes. I know I've experienced this personally, repeatedly, year after year, and you have a very innovative solution to that.
You bet. Flickers peck for different reasons, but one of the reasons is to make a big hole in the side of a house.
Yes.
And to live there. So they like dead trees, not that many dead trees, your house sounds like a dead tree.
Okay.
Best solution, put up a flicker house. He'll not only take it over, he'll guard the rest of your house against other flicker attacks, and flickers are our biggest woodpecker.
That is a lot less expensive than replacing siding.
Yes.
And if all else fails, there we go, the attack spider. And that will startle a flicker or any other bird that's anywhere nearby.
I love it.
I do too, I do too. Well, thank you very much for having us, explaining all the birdhouses for us. I appreciate that.
Scott, help me. The squirrels are making me crazy.
Oh, you better go help her before she has an aneurysm.
I'm coming, MJ.
I know it seems kind of ironic that I'm trying to fight off one animal while feeding another, but my birds, I spend a lot of money on that food. I want to make sure that the ones that benefit from it, and those squirrels are, they're making life hard.
Well, we always approach it as either feed them or defeat them when it comes to squirrels. And one of the best ways to defeat them is to use the eliminator feeder, that when a squirrel gets on it, it's going to close so that they can't feed at the feeder.
Because of their weight.
Exactly.
We're not hurting them.
No,
we're just
not at all.
discouraging them.
That's right. Well, we're telling them to go to some other diner. The other way is to put a cage around a feeder. This is going to keep out big birds like pigeons and keep out the squirrels. They can't reach through and reach the feed ports, but the small birds can easily go inside and feed to their heart's content.
Well, I'm all about feeding the birds. I don't even mind feeding those squirrels in their own private diner. So let's go check out the feed you have available for them.
All right.
So Scott, you have different kinds of food, different way that foods are manufactured over here. So I'm thinking the best thing for most people to do is just come into the store.
Exactly. We design different blends for Colorado birds and based on where people live. So one of the most favorite foods is no mess blend. This is Keith's favorite. I think it's your favorite too.
It is my favorite because if I spend a lot of time with helping people figure out how to make their yards look beautiful, the last thing I want is some sort of seed that's going to create a mess in the yard.
Exactly. No shells, reduced germination, so you don't have weeds growing up underneath the feeder. And
Well,
the
I
birds
see-
eat every bit of it.
I love that. I see lots of new products as well, so I love the fact there's a lot of options. And even though they make me a little crazy, what am I going to feed those squirrels? Because I'm all about the feed them or to feed them, so what am I going to feed them?
Well, there are a lot of things to feed them away from bird feeders. One of the best things to get started with is ear corn. It's been dried down, smeared a little peanut butter on it to get their attention so they know it's food. Get them away from the bird feeder.
I love the fact that I'm going to give them an option and keep them away from my bird feeders. Helps with my sanity. That's a good thing.
You bet.
Scott, thanks so much for helping us out today.
Thank you, MJ.